Y'all see the title, man. Let's get to it.
Back in the day, for an NBA superstar, when you were drafted, you had a responsibility to your team to win a championship or at the very least build a contender in your city. And the idea of leaving your team, really quitting
When he
on
was
them,
drafted,
joining
like,
other
we'd be like,
superstars was virtually unheard of. And even in recent history, someone like
well, yeah, he's correct. I feel like he's correct with that. It was virtually unheard of. That don't mean it didn't happen, though. You know what I'm saying? That's my problem. You know what I'm saying? People try to act like it never happened, which it has. You know what I'm saying? But ever since I got into this YouTube space, I've just been seeing so many more quote unquote super teams, I guess you could call them, with many superstars on that team from back in the day, though, too. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't
Dirk
like that
Nowitzki
narrative, bro.
played 21 years on one team. Kobe,
I feel him,
20
though.
years, one team.
I feel them because they probably
Tim
did it a
Duncan,
different way. They was at their
19
team
years,
for 10
one
years,
team.
15 years, whatever.
Careers like
You know.
Dirk, Kobe, and Duncan are a thing of the past. As in today's NBA, someone like a Steph Curry, a Giannis, they're the exception to the overall rule. And when it comes to players meddling in the front office, forming super teams, when this really started was back in 2011 with the decision. And this move by many then and now is dubbed one of the weakest moves in NBA history. And one NBA legend who thinks the exact same way as I do is John Stockton. As the era John Stockton played in, joining other superstars, meddling in the front office, trying to control their roster was virtually unheard of.
Cap. That's cap, bro. That's cap. You know what I'm saying? I've heard so many times, you know what I'm saying, older players doing the same thing as younger players, being upset that they're not getting the competent help. You know what I'm saying? They went about it a different way. You know, they stayed on the team, grinded it out, but they did the same thing, y'all. Like, it's a narrative. It's
And
a nasty
Stockton, like
narrative
many of
too,
those
bro.
legends, played
don't
19
like it.
years in
I
Utah,
don't like it.
not once jumping ship or leaving the Jazz. Let's say Stockton had today's players' mindsets. Imagine Stockton leaving the Jazz, going to the Sonics with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. That is 3 Hall of Fame players on one roster that would stack the deck in their favor. Or even worse, imagine Stockton not winning a championship with the Jazz.
Bro, and this was making me mad. Why don't you use the real examples? There's real examples of this, like in the back in the day. There's real examples. So why is he not using real examples? He's trying to push the narrative that it never happened back then. That's the, you know what I'm saying?
Think
That's
of the
nasty,
ship
bro.
to
Because it
Jordan's
actually, you know what I'm saying?
Bulls.
I understand if it was different.
You think
Just explain that it
fans
was
back
different.
then, even now,
Don't try to act
will
like
look
it
at
never
Stockton
happened, bro.
a little bit
That's
different.
ridiculous.
And those championships of an ever so slight asterisk beside them. That's why the 2011 Heat, it's one of the biggest, I wouldn't say travesties in NBA history, but it's one of the biggest turning points where everything changed. As having 2 top 5 players, 3 top 15 players, it was the prequel to Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. And you can argue all day
That's a
long
fact.
which move was worse, who ruined the NBA more, debate that all you want. But one thing you can't debate is that domino falling in 2011 changed the NBA for the next decade plus. And the so-called
It definitely, I agree with that. It definitely changed what's going on. Now everybody feel like that's what we should be doing. We should be changing the team, see what I'm saying? Get it done. But not everybody's LeBron. Not everybody could change the team and it'll work out. You know what I'm saying? LeBron changed the team and sometimes don't work out. You know what I'm saying? So a super team doesn't even mean it's a great team. Like, that whole word is just
player empowerment
nasty.
era, which is coming to an end, the NBA was amok with superstars changing teams virtually every season. And the inevitable outcome of the player empowerment era, it was bound to happen, is the mid-tier superstars, mid-tier all-stars, even fringe all-stars have this massive ego that they're entitled to change teams whenever they want. The most prevalent example nowadays is James Harden, who in Philadelphia actually opted into a contract and is still demanding a trade and threatening to sit out games. And of course, Dame Lillard, in a very similar place, signed a contract, pushed him on the dotted line, but a few months later, once out, and is demanding a trade to one single team. Look, maybe the best player in the NBA could get away with this, but guys who aren't even top 10, fringe top 15, trying to pull these big time moves, get over on franchises, this is the line in the sand to the player empowerment era. The player empowerment era of player mobility, it's benefited some guys, mainly the top tier superstars. But guys in that Dame Lillard, James Harden tier, it's not really helped them in their pursuit of a championship. And if you want to be 100% honest, the overall gain of this era has been a huge net negative. And look, if you hate John Stockton, don't like him, disagree with him, but at the very least acknowledge on this topic, he has a point on multiple fronts. As when you debate players from different eras, the 90s, 80s, to the 2010s, 2020s, you gotta take into account player empowerment and changing teams. And the biggest debate we always have, LeBron versus Jordan, who's the greatest, who's the best. When debating these players, context for their accolades, context for their championships, it's very, very important. As someone like Jordan winning 6 championships, repeating twice, he won those titles with a roster that got progressively older. As in 91, had one of the youngest championship rosters of all time, but 98 had the oldest ever. Compare that to LeBron James, who every 4 to 5 years recycles his teammates, recycles his teams, and leaves cities. When Wade got old, he jumped ship. When Kyrie was gone, Love was aging.
Okay, here's my thing though, like, you can argue both ways, bro. And that's what people just tend to not see. Like, you can argue both ways. You can argue that Bron switching teams is also not helping him, you know, just because he's not getting the team chemistry that that Jordan and the Bulls got because they was together for so long. You know what I'm saying? He just keeps switching teams, keeps switching teammates. He's not getting the real continuity with those teammates. You know what I'm saying? You can argue both ways, bro, and that's what people try to act like you can't. Like, oh, man.
He jumped ship. When Russ was showing age in Los Angeles, what happened? He was shipped out, leaving teams high and dry, trading players he brought in. Some would define that as being a pseudo GM. And especially in Cleveland, that second stint, LeBron James in 2017, 2018 was their GM. As before that, he pushed heavily for Kyrie to be traded, and then in 2018, got an entire roster overhaul because of his demands. Even looking at the Lakers, in a very short time period, this roster underwent massive overhauls. From Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, to Kyle Kuzma, KCP, and Alex Caruso. All those players came in, were filtered through, then sent out, and shipped away. Over LeBron's 21-year career, the theme of being a pseudo-GM, le GM, it's been present everywhere he's gone. And you have to be very, very naive to think LeBron James doesn't have at least some kind of pull, some kind of say in these roster moves and what happens for his teams. And again, contrasting that with Michael Jordan, who back in his era rarely have ever recruited players and demanded things from the front office. And according to Jerry Krause, a guy who hated Jordan by all accounts, MJ never came to him, asked for a player, demanded contracts, or wanted coaches fired. The one time Jordan really pushed for the team to sign a player was Dennis Rodman. But Rodman at that point was kind of viewed as a nutcase.
I don't even think he really pushed for that. I think it was more so Phil Jackson that came to him and Scottie. That's what from my knowledge, that's what I know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know if I'm wrong.
Cancer and overall distraction. That was Rodman pre-Bulls. But MJ, he vouched for him, brought him in, and got him 3 more championships. That is the biggest and single example of Jordan pushing for his team to sign a player. Compared to LeBron James, who since 2010, with him on his team's rosters, has had 70 plus trades in that time period. And kind of looking back at Stockton's overall point about player mobility, players demanding things, if you want to talk about quitting on teams, quitting on rosters, for Jordan's career, yes, he retired twice, but not ever quit on the Bulls and that organization. Now, LeBron James, numerous times, has quit on teams, meddling the front office, demanding players, and trying to get coaches fired. That list for a 21-year career is pretty lengthy. And when you look back on it, there's a lot of baggage in Cleveland, Miami, and especially Los Angeles because of LeBron James and what he brings to a team. So really, John Stockton's overall point, you can't really disagree with him. He's not wrong about this. And again, imagine someone like Jordan after 98, after winning his 6th championship. He went ring chasing and joined the Lakers. Imagine Jordan, a young Kobe and Shaq, that big three in Los Angeles. That's what, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 championships in 5 years. It's possible. If Jordan had that mindset, that mentality to go ring chasing, his NBA resume would be untouchable for any athlete ever. But fortunately for him, unlike today's players, he didn't have that mindset of joining players, demanding things, and really quitting on teams whenever he wanted to. That's why when it comes to championships, for LeBron with the Heat, KD with Golden State, yes, those championships do count in the record books, but for hardcore fans who are critical, those titles always have a very small but noticeable asterisk. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it.
That's the end of this one, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't really agree with this one too much, man. Y'all heard me, what I had to say. Y'all know, I already know y'all gonna let me know in the comments how y'all feel, so do that, you know what I'm saying? Click on the last reaction, share the video with your people, social media platforms. My day, man. Word.